Accessing library computer data.
And to make sure that history never forgets the name Enterprise.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Penske Podcast. You haven't tuned in before, this is a podcast where we are running through all 178 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, giving our thoughts and feelings about each and every one. Right now we are up to episode 22 of season 4, getting to the end here of season 4. This one is called Half a Life. It was directed by Les Landau. Teleplay goes to Peter Allen Fields, and the story goes to Ted Roberts and Peter Allen Fields. It aired back on May 6, 1991. In this one, Lwaxana Troi makes her triumphant return and falls in love with a scientist who is attempting to test his theories of stellar ignition in hopes of saving his world's dying star. The experiment fails, and Lwaxana encourages Timson to continue his research, but he's about to turn 60 years old, and he is preparing instead for his ritual suicide. Tana, Clay, and Sean are here to talk about this one. Let's go deep on the return of Lwaxana Troi. Love her or hate her, she's back. She's here for Half a Life, and we're going to talk about it right after this.
I had one of those named after me once. Brilliant young astronomer from Rigel 4. Of course, I sparkled a bit myself in those days. You see, that's called fishing for a compliment. You're supposed to tell me I still sparkle. I'm sorry, I'm not helping him.
You're very kind. I'm just not adequate company right now.
Oh, that's all right. I can make enough conversation for both of us. I'll leave you alone.
No. Please stay. I wanted to tell you how much I wish we had met years ago.
What difference do a few years make?
Unfortunately, a great deal.
So now we're going to talk about Half a Life, which is the first appearance of Ensign Ro as an undercover agent. So what did everyone think about? What did everyone think about Half a Life? Well, I'm going to. I think my prediction before we started recording, I was talking to Sean. I think this episode might have split opinion, and I'm curious now to see how that.
Guys, we have to stop for a second. I believe I watched the wrong episode.
Oh, no.
Oh. Yeah, so I might have to bow out of this one.
What did you watch?
I watched the one. I thought it was the next one up, but I must have selected the wrong one. I watched the one with Lwaxana Troi, where she goes to a...
That's it.
That's it?
Are you?
What the hell are you talking about?
Are you confused about my Ensign Ro statement?
Who went undercover?
Michelle
undercover is what?
Did you watch the whole episode, Clay?
What?
Michelle Forbes, who plays the daughter, is Ensign Ro in the next couple of seasons of Star Trek.
Oh, wait.
You know what?
I'm really confused. Right. I'm really confused.
You're right.
I'm just gonna leave.
Oh God,
Clay, since you started off so well, let us know what you thought about Half a Life.
Jeff,
which is the episode with Timson and Lwaxana Troi.
Are we sure?
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Well, I was very happy to see a cast member from MASH on the show.
Oh, yeah.
If that helps. Or do you guys not get that reference?
I don't get that one at all.
I do not get that reference.
Is that actor from MASH?
I think so, unless I'm wrong on that too.
David Ogden Stiers.
He also played the Martian Manhunter on the very, very short-lived Justice League live-action TV show.
Oh, excellent!
And he was the narrator in Beauty and the Beast from 1991.
Was he really?
Which had as a staff writer George R. Martin, who is a Game of Thrones fan.
Well, we'll just stop talking about that right now. We'll just
Boo, fantasy, boo.
George R. Martin, arguably the second biggest Game of Thrones fan, I think.
Yeah, I know. I meant writer.
Anyway, let's get this. Let's pull this back into focus. Someone tell me what they thought about Half a Life. Let's start with.
Listen, at this point, I'm off the rails. I don't know what I'm going to talk about for the rest of this episode. So,
Sean, what'd you
think? Get ready to hear about the X-Files.
Right. I love this episode. My wife actually put down her book when I had it on once, and she even paid attention, and she hates Star Trek.
Mhm.
And we both really like Loxana. I know that being a waxhead makes me a minority, but I think Tana and I are both waxheads.
Waxhead?
Loxana.
Please tell me you started that club. Please tell me you started that club and it's just you and Tana.
It's news to me, man. It's news to me.
Tana, what'd you think about Half-Life?
I loved it, but Sean wasn't done.
Okay, go ahead, Sean. Finish your.
I just want to talk about Waxhead some more. I will yield the floor.
You want to
my
wax
fellow
poetic?
Waxidian.
I loved this episode. I thought this is a superb Star Trek episode. I won't spoil my rating, but it's very high up. It might be the highest I've ever given any episode ever.
Wow. Clay?
Well, I guess I thought it was good because I guess I watched the right one. Yeah, no, this was a really good one. I thought it was interesting because her character it was another Betazoid episode that didn't actually involve her really doing anything Betazoidy, at least of any consequence.
She couldn't read his emotions, yeah.
Yeah, and in another episode where Troi has like literally nothing to do, even though she arguably should have a lot to do. But
she's put in charge of keeping her mom under tight wrap.
Yeah, under tight wrap.
Yeah,
I think this is an episode that ends a lot stronger than it starts. Loxana Troi nearly derails this for me in the first 10 minutes. She modulates and becomes better by the end of it, but she's borderline unbearable at the start. I know they had to use an older character for this story. I don't know if the clownish mother-in-law was the right choice. And that's basically where it starts. I think it's a strong episode, saved mostly because the David Ogden Stiers, who plays Timothy, is excellent and can sometimes save the scenes that he plays with Loxana.
He was real good.
Those scenes required no saving, Wes. They required no saving.
She's perfect. She's perfect for him.
Oh, she's borderline infuriating in the first 10 minutes of this episode.
That's supposed to be her character.
It is, but it's the wrong character.
She knows she's like that.
I think generally I would agree with you, but I think it works in this one because that's part of the whole character arc in the story, is that she kind of realizes that she's got to dial it back a little bit and really look at what's going on.
Yeah.
Yes. I think she's brazen, she's outspoken. The shocking thing in the first half, and the thing that correct me if I'm wrong, but all of you guys must have also been thinking this, is why did they let her touch all the instruments? Like, she has access to everywhere. She almost launches a torpedo, and Worf's like, that's the launch code or whatever. Like, she shouldn't be allowed to poke around or join Jean-Luc Picard, to welcome this ambassador. She just kind of gets free range on the Enterprise, and I think that's a fun storytelling thing. I think she's a fun character to follow.
I don't know why she was on the bridge. That whole scene was kind of weird, but
she was waiting for her daughter to get off work. Like, that was sort of, she'd gone up there to meet with Deanna, and and so she was just waiting, but she had to touch everything too.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, so I've already explained why I like Loxana, so I don't want to go over that again. But sure. I thought that the reason Timothy was good foil for her was because he's so reserved and quiet and nymphish. And even though he's like a 6'4" actor, like, she really, like, the fact that he was going to die as part of his planet's religion or whatever, you pair him up with somebody that loves life. Like, she is intoxicated with life, which is why she's so much of a pain in the ass sometimes. Yeah. And I think that that's what was great. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better character to balance her and him as well.
Yeah. Their on-screen chemistry is excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. But like when they do kiss and stuff, I mean, because that he's holding something back for the first 15 minutes,
Yes.
Until they kiss.
Make a kissing joke.
Yeah. Until they kiss, in which he goes in full mouth open.
All I could see was his giant arm, like he's smothering her, and I'm like, oh my god, maybe his culture just has everyone kissing like bears, like you're supposed to crush her to death.
It's a culture of deep beliefs, I guess. Well, we just got done talking about the drumhead, right?
Yeah.
Our main point there was that it's a very black and white issue. The show takes the side of sort of right and justice, basically, which is not all that concerning. But we were talking about how they don't really muddy the waters with anything. In this story, what does the show think about what Timothy is doing?
I had that in my notes as well. I wanted to ask you guys the exact same question. Is the show saying something? Are they making a statement about, like, what is the message? What is as the audience, what is our takeaway message from this episode supposed to be? Because I got to the end of it and I wasn't sure. Like, I don't have an answer.
Well, I think that the message that they're trying to get across, and I think it's a really smart way to write something like this, where the message that they're putting out there is that, just because people are old doesn't necessarily mean that they're a burden, et cetera, but they don't do what they did in the last episode and, just hammer it in. They actually show you in the talking out of the situation that even though that might be what they think, the issue is not as black and white as you would think it would be.
I sort of agree. I think that Loxana's points are crushed by his points. Like, I think his argument is much stronger than her argument, and I have a hard time appreciating her point of view at certain points in this episode.
Can you be specific?
She's like, her argument basically is you have to do what you want to do. Now do what I want you to do.
I saw it as she does have a deep affection for this guy. He's a scientist, so the plot is that he's a scientist from a very xenophobic culture that is trying to save their dying sun. So the Enterprise takes him to a sun that doesn't have any habitable planets around it. They do an experiment. It goes really well. It looks like they're going to be able to save his home world's planet, sun, and then it goes wrong and it blows up. And then the response from him at first is not very sciencey, right? Like, he's not like, oh, I should learn from this and apply it to my research. He's just kind of like, I guess everyone's dead now.
Well, no, he doesn't have any time. He can't do anything else because that was his literally last shot.
Right, because they have on their planet, once you reach 60, you're dead. Like, you do a suicide ritual and then you die and somebody else. It seemed to me in this episode that they didn't spend an awful lot of time talking about the fact that if this particular individual does not continue his work, everybody's dead. I feel like they really didn't, when Loxana is trying to convince him to stay alive and to resist his culture and their suicide, whatever it is, she doesn't make the argument that you're the one that can save everyone. If there should be a special exception, it's you.
Well, they kind of touch on that. They say that this is the way, like, everyone, when their job is done at 60, passes on their knowledge to the next person who tries to finish it. So they do cover that he's not seen as, like, the last hope. He's just seen as, like, he has to go now and sort of retire, basically, and give all his papers to the next person.
I thought that they had 40 years left before the sun explodes, and that it will take the next youngest scientist that's doing his research 10 years to get to the level that he's at.
Did they say that?
I think they say that in the episode. Do you guys remember that? Did the other...
They say that it's going to take a while for them to track down a replacement.
Sure.
Is what they said. Sorry, go ahead, Clay.
Yeah, and he says that it'll take the new stuff that they're working on, like the new information that he has. He says it will take the next guy 10 years to figure it out, whereas he could do it in half the time.
Oh, I see.
And that's where our title comes,
Right.
Half Life, maybe? You not?
I don't
know.
I thought about that too, and one of the answers I came up for the title was, if Loxana and him are one, and it's not quite enough for him, is what he literally says.
Yeah.
Then she's the only one left, so that's half their life. I mean, it could be taken a lot of different ways, I guess.
Yeah, or she thinks that she says that he's a middle-aged person, so he's, by her definition, he has only lived half a life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so what I love that his culture is a direct assault on everything Waxana is. His culture is saying that old people are irrelevant. Old people are not. They're in the way. They don't love. They don't have any hope left. I mean, it's just a hopeless message for them. And he is from a society that thinks that there's some kind of peace in that. And she's just horrified by this. So when she's pleading her case, she's basically saying, like, love me, like, I love life, you could love life too, just come away with me, we could be happy. And I think she's just hysterical, trying to find different ways to try to argue him down, and the only way she can get to him is by saying, well, why even bother saving your son then? If that's the way it's supposed to be, then why tamper with it? Basically calling him a hypocrite, and that's kind of what gets him. But I thought he made a lot of good points for what it is, like a suicide culture, which you would never expect to get. Like, yeah, when people get to a certain age, they are a burden to their loved ones. That sucks, but that's kind of how it is. And, the cost of medical, and, people have been living for too long. And, like, he made a lot of good points too, but he's just he's more of a clinical arguer, and her character is sort of designed to be a little all over the place. But I still think she makes some good points as well.
Yeah. Where I think the writing is really good is that, Wes, you were saying that Loxana's arguments aren't very good. And I think, which I would agree with you. And I think the reason that that's actually really good writing is because whereas the doctor, I can't remember his name, Timson, where Timson is one side of an argument, like of this, well, are old people a burden, et cetera, et cetera. Loxana is not just the writer's mouth for the other side of that argument. They're actually having her respond the way her character would respond.
Yes,
it's a character response. It's not a writer response. And I think that's something that's a lot of shows don't remember to do that. And I think you could argue that they don't do it. They don't remember to do it in the last episode where we were talking about that admiral, the way that she goes off. She is just the writer opposition to the point they're trying to make, whereas Loxana is actually reacting to it like a character would, like her character.
That's a good point, Clay.
Yeah. I
think Wes just doesn't like Loxana. He's not a wax head, like he should be.
Like maybe you're just not a Loxana fan.
No, I mean, I was trying to think who I would put in this spot. I think they're limited because it doesn't make sense to have him kill himself when he's like 30 or 35, which is supposed to be the age of the other cast members. I was thinking that it felt to me to be more natural of a Crusher story, and she's just not old enough to handle it.
Well, either way though, I mean, if it has to end with that person leaving the ship, if you want to have that same kind of ending, then it can't be someone who's a main member of the crew.
Right.
Crusher is not a passionate character. Loxana is this guy's opposite.
I disagree. Crusher is compassionate. She's not enthusiastically emotional.
Also, I would like to say that I think her hair guy was not on set because her hair is not great in these two episodes.
He's been taken off the past couple of weeks.
Guy or gal.
I wanted to.
I'm with Tana 100%. I think she is. I don't think Crusher could quite.
This is not a Crusher episode.
This is a Pulaski episode.
Pulaski, yeah.
Pulaski. I would love to see Pulaski.
That's the other woman you guys hate that Tana and I love.
No, I'm actually not joking. I think she would fit the bill perfectly, and it would make even more sense because she's a doctor.
No, dude.
Yeah.
Come on.
I think I agree with that.
I mean, if you wanted to have, I think the Loxana argument is more interesting. But I think if you wanted to go that way of having two sides of two mirror sides of the argument, Pulaski makes perfect sense because she's a doctor, so she would be all about how ridiculous the fact that they're dying, killing themselves off at 60.
She's as clinical as this guy, though. So what we have.
Well, even clinical people can learn how to love, Tana. Most doctors I know are married.
Like Kirsten. Bam.
Well, they're only marrying those doctors for the money, Clay. Those gold digging whores. Anyway, I thought
that. Go ahead, Clay. Sorry, Wes.
I think I'd agree. I mean, Pulaski's more age appropriate too, which I think is important. Like, you have to have that person be the same age as this person.
Are you saying that Loxana is not age appropriate for Timothy?
No, I'm saying she is. That's why they cast her as.
I think they cast her because of her personality, and she just fits. Like, they tailored this whole episode to her character, and it's perfectly done.
Yeah, I think while yes, you could make an argument that maybe they could have cast someone else just based on age. I think for this to work as well as it does, it has to be Lwaxana.
It's a Lwaxana. It's an episode of Lwaxana. Like that's
unless you want to create some other new character, but that wouldn't work because who gives a shit about that character?
Right.
Exactly.
That's unnecessary. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with what this episode is positing. I think it's not as clear about what it thinks
So one of the
it's in the gray area. That's why it works.
But so one of the things Tana mentioned was, what is the episode trying to say? And I've been thinking about that, and I feel like I don't think it's actually trying to make a point about the things that you think it's saying. I think the episode stands to show you how deep Lwaxana Troi can be. I think she ends up winning a lot because she comes across. Most people see her as obnoxious, but she knows she's lightweight. She tones it down. Timothy even says to Picard, like, that woman is very, her convictions are amazing, or something like that. And Picard has a moment. He's like, yeah, you're right. She really does. And I think the episode's point of view is Lwaxana is not as flippant as you would think. She's very deep. And here's a story that shows you how. As far as what they feel about death and, the Prime Directive, I don't think that really goes for any answers there.
Yep. And it's worth mentioning that he's about to side with her. He's going against his culture, and it's not until Ensign Ro in disguise as his daughter with her propeller hat hairdo.
Yeah, that was terrible. That was terrible. They made her look ugly, which is nearly impossible for Michelle
It's like
Forbes.
a limousine fin. In the 80s, the limousines had like that V-shaped fin on the back that Crocodile Dundee would throw.
That was for satellite television, man, if you wanted to live in the lap of luxury.
It's not till she shows up that he's like, oh, I guess I should go kill myself now for my people. Like he had a greater purpose in his life. He was still a contributing member of society. He could do, good. He had this woman that was vibrant and zesty that he was super excited to, continue.
Apparently too vibrant and zesty because he wanted out at the end.
Yeah, he had enough. It was a fun weekend, but it's time to move on.
I'll bet you that she tastes zesty as well.
Well,
I love the idea that big lurch guy is behind her all the time. Like her manservant, whatever he is.
Mr. Hom.
Yeah. I like when she lays out the picnic on the computer. He does it, and she goes.
I wanted to talk about that. Like,
why
is she allowed in there?
Well, I find that annoying because what they're trying to do is trying to save a civilization, and
I didn't like that scene.
And no one is going like, "Why don't you get the fuck out of here?"
Yep.
I find that annoying. Like maybe it's not the character's fault, but it's the writer's fault for inserting this character.
She should not have been allowed in that room at all, and at no point should she have been allowed to set out a tablecloth on their science instruments and then set out a picnic. Like, this is not where we have lunch. Kids in middle school know this.
I would love to see the next 10 minutes of that scene and just have them eating hot dogs and
Jordy with chicken
will
wings.
you normally eat?
Getting buzzed everywhere.
While they're watching the ticker show how much time is going off the clock before his planet explodes.
You know what
is that why you've overeaten?
I figured out
die in 4 days?
The problem here.
Yeah.
The Lwaxana's motivations are inherently selfish.
Right.
I mean,
I don't know that I agree.
They are to a point.
She's trying to distract him from saving billions of people.
I wouldn't say that.
She's the one that makes the case that he's the only one that can save his people, and that if he dies, what's the difference?
No, but she's doing that because she wants him to stick around, which even Troi admits at the end. You're doing this because you just want him to be here, as opposed to what's good for him.
Right. She doesn't care about that civilization. She doesn't know them from anyone, but she likes this guy.
But what this setup allows is for growth of the Lwaxana character.
Yes, I'd agree with that.
Her motivations at the beginning, and arguably for most of it, are fairly personal, are selfish. But at some point, they start to get a little bit gray, and then at the end, she makes a decision that's completely selfish.
I think maybe it's the grayness that makes the episode work, right? Like the last episode that we talked about was all in absolutes and black and white, and it just kind of felt stilted. And this one, I don't know, it seems richer somehow.
I was
thinking about, I know I said the thing about, they're trying to make the point about the old people and whatnot, but as you were talking about it, I think they're not trying to make a point, and I think the episode is better for it,
Yeah.
Because what it really is it's a character study and a thought exercise, and the fact that they don't try to make a point really definitively, I think makes it that much more fascinating to think about.
You know what stuck out to me when Ensign Rowe, I don't know what her character in this is, but when the daughter of this scientist comes on board and says,
Dara.
"You taught me." What is her name?
Her name is Dara, apparently.
Dara. When Dara comes on and says, "You taught me to respect the ritual of release," or whatever it's called.
Resolution.
Do you know? Resolution. You know, like, this is something that you, Father, taught me to uphold. And I think she might hit that note a little hard, but she has to in this particular case. But she's saying, you know, I have all the values that you instilled in me, and now you're going against everything you taught me to believe in, and that connects us as a people. And I think that can be a powerful sentiment. So I don't know that the show is saying one way or the other. They're just sort of presenting this circumstance that's really bad, you know, or really conflicting. And I think it works for that reason. I think it elevates the episode, you know, in a way that maybe the last episode just kind of fell flat.
Right. If you guys think that the Prime Directive was violated when Picard gave him amnesty or whatever?
I don't know how
where do you think
works into it. Yeah,
I don't know, man. They took that other lady who just wanted to see the stars from that episode a few episodes ago, and who knows? As far,
the president of Earth let her.
Yeah, whatever, man.
I was a little bit confused. I thought the Prime Directive basically stops applying once you have like a relationship with the species. Because how can you not have an impact on a species after you're involved with them?
Right.
Well, how did they contact Starfleet to begin with, or did they mention that?
They said they were just xenophobes who weren't interested in working with the Federation, but they need help.
Okay, so they were aware.
Yeah, they were aware of the Federation.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they were shy about it, but they knew that they needed help, and they took them a while to find a sun that was comparable to theirs, and that's where the episode starts.
My favorite part about their culture was the Prime Minister that they talked to has just bottles of water like sitting around on his desk. That didn't make any sense. I didn't understand anything that was going on there. Go ahead, Sean.
I was going to say, there's a moment with Chief O'Brien that was pretty funny when she's going to go down to the planet to start some shit. And she's standing on the transporter, and she's like, come on. And he's like, I can't, you know. And then her daughter comes in and talks her down off the ledge. And then as O'Brien leaves, he turns back to like lock the thing. And I thought, like, could you hit the button and quickly run back only half your body make it? Like, how would that even work?
That's
not going to transport yourself.
Geordi. It's like a timer on a camera. Geordi did it in Identity Crisis. He had to.
He did.
He had to push the thing and then hop into it.
Yeah, Lizard Geordi, who somehow still knew how to work the teleportation thing.
But Luxana didn't even know how to fire the cannons from Worf's position. I mean, I don't think she would exactly know how to crack her knuckles.
It arms them. Like, it wasn't going to fire them, but it's like, that will arm the photon torpedoes, you know, and he's all indignant about it. What I wanted to say was when Deanna and her mom are then talking, you know, they're sitting alone in the transport room, and they're doing the telepathy thing. Loxana's mental telepathy has her doing that deep breathing, like, you know, and I'm like, you don't have a breathing apparatus. Like, you could just be talking and your physical body could be doing, you know, but they had this, like, I never cry.
The fact that they talk at all is always strikes me as very odd for the Betazoids, but we've talked about that.
I thought the shot of her and her daughter in the room, and you see Troi with the mirror, and they hold that shot, and then the guy comes. I thought that was a really well designed shot.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how they did that because I couldn't figure out where the camera was.
Huh. Oh, yeah, I'll have to go back and pay more attention to it. I thought it was slightly angled, but I might be totally.
Yeah, well, you could do that, Wes, but you hate Loxana, so why would you?
This episode's a 1 out of 5. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to play an audio clip. We're going to come back, give our final ratings and final thoughts for Half a Life.
If for any reason you would like to wait for a few minutes.
No. We have already said our goodbyes. Roxana.
It is the custom for your loved ones to join you at this resolution, is it not?
You do not have to do this.
Yes, I do. Permission to disembark, Captain. I promise I won't cause any problems down there.
Permission granted.
We are ready, Mr. O'Brien.
Boom, boom, boom. Half a life. We're going to give our final thoughts and rating on a scale of 1 to 5 about this one. Loxana Troi makes her triumphant return, falls in love with Dr. Timothy, and he's going to go down and off himself, and she's going to be there to help him. So I did like the argument in this one about why 60, why not 62? That's always kind of an argument you could have, like, about anything, like why can't you drink when you're 21 and a half or whatever.
Right.
But he makes a pretty good argument.
She asked that too, though.
Yes.
He asked that too.
Yeah. His answer of, well, you just got to fucking pick a date is like the great rational answer to that.
Right.
Anyway, let's give our final thoughts. Tana, you seem to enjoy this one. Why don't you start us off?
I am going down in the history books. Season 4, episode 22 is my very first 5 out of 5.
Woohoo!
This is a great episode. I will force Kirsten to watch it at some time when I'm feeling like our relationship is super stable and it can survive Star Trek. But it was great. It's everything I want in a Star Trek episode. Waxana was great. She calls Worf Woof. There's some good Picard moments. Troi, who I love, was in this. Like, it was fun and funny, and it just felt like Star Trek. This was a great episode.
Sean?
I agree with everything Tana said. I'll go 5 out of 5. I don't love Troi though, but I
love her.
But I love Tana, so whatever.
the elder Troi. 5 out of 5. Interesting.
I'm so excited about Troi getting her pips and like becoming an officer, and I just.
Did you guys pick up the part where Loxana basically told Troi she needed to get laid?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's always like shaming her daughter in one way or another, and I don't know. I find it delightful.
It's all about showing the bosoms. Anyway, Clay, what do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a 5. If I had to change one thing though, I wish there was a little bit more of a turn for Loxana, like maybe halfway, where it's a little bit clearer that she's developing feelings, because it happens so fast. It's like all of this happens in the course of like 2 days, it seems.
Yeah.
So they go from, flirting to we're in love and I want you to leave your planet for me. It's I don't know why it's it happens a little quickly, but
it does.
Again 45 minutes, you got to do what you got to do.
I don't know why the show doesn't do that more, where they just drop a line like the captain's log is like 3 weeks have passed and we've been doing this. They never do it. I don't know why. Yeah. There's one episode early in one of the first early seasons where a crew member just casually mentions that they've been there for like 2 months. And it's like, you never realize that in some stories they must just be staying at these places for a very long time.
Right. Yeah. And it is weird too, given how much like light speed travel they do. I have no idea how long anything takes to do in this show.
Yeah.
Unless they need to get out of somewhere and they can't, and then they tell you exactly how many days it means before they can fix it.
Or if they go to the center of the galaxy, it apparently takes a lifetime to get back. That's the other time that they're very clear about how long it's been. Anyway, so I'm going to give Half a Life, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
Ooh. I'm proud of you, Wes. I thought you were going to go 3.
No, it's
going to come in much lower.
It's better than a 3. I don't like the way that the Loxana is played in the early parts of this. I think it takes what could have been really cool and a really good examination and like clowns it up a little bit too much for me. I wish.
How would you prefer she was played?
It would need a total revamp of that character. I'd need her to be. She would have the joie de vivre, but would not be just like constantly in everyone's business all the time. Basically, like just have her. If she was a more.
So you want her to be French, is what you're saying?
I do. I want her to be French. I want her to be a philosopher and everything. I just need her to be. I don't enjoy watching her scenes. I kind of cringe with her scenes. My wife, when watching this, was like, "Is this fucking woman for serious? Is this how she's gonna act?" I kind of agree with that. Like, I don't enjoy it. It is a character, but there are bad characters.
My favorite scene in the episode was the very first one where Picard walks on and he's got that look on his face like he knows she's around somewhere and he's trying really hard to avoid her.
That's gold. Yeah. That is Star Trek.
And the opening.
Yeah.
Troy's journal entry, like, my mother is here.
My mother's on board. That's the opening.
She comes up and she's like, Jean-Luc, you were thinking about me, I can tell. And he's like dreading seeing her.
Well, that was another, I guess that kind of ties in with the Drumhead Betazoid, where they sense something, but they're wrong about what they're sensing. He's clearly thinking about her, but not in the way that she seems to think so.
Exactly, right.
I always get the sense with her that it's like she's choosing to believe what she wants. Like, I don't think it's that she's incapable of knowing what he's actually thinking of her. She just colors it differently, you know?
Oh, she's flirting with him. I mean,
exactly.
I've known plenty of people who act like that.
Plenty of telepaths. Anyway,
her ovaries are firing off, and I think it's clouding her Betazoid judgment.
Can I make?
She's entering the period. Yeah, sorry. I forget what the Betazoids call it when they go to menopause. The phase. It's called the phase. That's right.
It is the phase. Can I make one last comment? When she's talking with Troi. So they're having their little discussion, and Troi actually does her job better than she's ever done her job before. So she's talking to her mother, who's breaking down, who's tried to escape to start shit down on the planet. She wasn't able to do it, and she says to Troi, it's not the same thing, is it? And Troi says to her, well, what do you think? And it's the perfect counselor moment.
She flipped it around on her.
Yeah, it's like that's exactly what a therapist would do, and that's the moment, season 4, episode 22, when Troi actually does her job perfectly.
Don't they say that all like children of psychologists are like little psychopaths in like training because they're learning how to like emotionally manipulate things?
The Machiavellian children.
Yes, the very Machiavellian.
It was Troy's I saw you cry when Dad died, and then the mom says, this isn't the same thing, is it? And then Troi looks like at her mother soulfully and says, what do you think? Like, it's perfect. It's such a perfect counselor moment.
I do think still that's like an indictment of the entire Troi character, though, because why would you have a character who can read minds be a therapist then if all they're going to do is just say, well, what do you think? I mean,
yeah. She should be a tactical officer. That's where you need your Betazoid.
She should be an interrogator like her Betazoid brother.
Yeah, I think maybe she should have a position that's not entirely based on who she is as a person and just based on what she can do as an officer, because I'm just a little bit more enlightened than you guys, I guess.
I think she's just hitting her stride, and she's going to be awesome, and she belongs in the Enterprise, and she's a great counselor, and I can't wait till she gets into her uniform and out of her leotard.
I can't.
I have one idea I need to float by you guys for a final scene that they could have done is when they show the what's it called when the religious ceremony that Tennyson has to go through.
Resolution.
All right, the resolution is actually a giant 3-story shotgun, and he has to crawl inside the barrel, and they make his daughter pull the trigger, and that's how it's over.
It's just a cannon to the stars.
I was thinking they were going to do something like he decides to live and then like has a heart attack or something.
Oh yeah. He overdoses on space Viagra.
I was thinking about that for the last one too. I was expecting some sort of turn where like they let the kid off and then it turns out that he actually was sabotaging everything.
Yeah. His card was totally like you're super innocent based on nothing.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thank you for listening. If you are on YouTube, a like in the comments, appreciate it. If you're on iTunes, a rating and review helps get the show out there. Guys, thank you very much for coming on. Thank you for talking about these 2 episodes with me.
Yeah,
thank you.
No problem.
Bye. And
glad I watched the right one.
Yes, I was concerned there for a second. I was, oh no. I thought Netflix had glitched out on you or something. We're up to The Host next week, which is interesting. It's the introduction of the Trill, which are going to become important in Deep Space Nine particularly. And that's that. And then the season is pretty much over. So I'm looking forward to that. Moving on to season 5, where we meet Ensign Rowe for the first time, which is going to be fantastic.
We just met her right now, Wes.
We met her.
She's already an amazing actress, though. I mean, not to get back into it, but she was insanely awesome in that scene.
No, she's very good. She's very good. And the Rowe character is actually like a slightly shaded character in terms of TNG, anyway. So, thank you guys again.
That's
That's right. Thanks, guys, and I will see you later.